Good evening. I am Patty Robles, a member of the League of Women Voters, Wayzata Plymouth area, and your moderator for the Minnetrista Mayor and City Council Candidate Forum. I would like to welcome our candidates and our viewers on behalf of our hosts, the League of Women Voters, Wayzata Plymouth area. The League of Women Voters, a volunteer, nonpartisan political organization, encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters. It is our purpose in sponsoring forums such as this to provide you with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss issues that are important to you. This evening's forum is provided to give you the opportunity to learn about the candidates running for Minnetrista Mayor and City Council. There's never enough time to cover all the issues in a setting such as this. If your questions were not answered, feel free to contact the candidate directly. The rules for this evening's forum are as follows. Each candidate will be allowed a 2-minute opening statement to state their experience, platform, and objectives. A 15-second warning signal will be given before the total time has elapsed. A question and answer period will be held following the opening statements. The answers will be confined to 1 minute unless designated by the moderator. Questions will be answered by the candidates in rotating order. A 15-second warning will be given to the candidates. The candidates will also be given a 2-minute closing statement. Candidates, please finish your statement quickly when you see the stop, or you will be interrupted. No reference of a personal nature will be tolerated. A person's public record may be examined, but not their character. This forum is made available to encourage the voting public to focus on the issues and not on personalities. The public has been encouraged to submit questions in advance. Questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature will not be used. Those that fall in the same general area may be consolidated. Recordings of this forum may not be used without the express written approval of the League. The League will only allow audio-video of this event to be broadcast in its entirety, except by the media reporting on the event. The candidates for Minnetrista Mayor and City Council are Shannon Bruce, candidate for Mayor, Lisa Whalen, candidate for Mayor, Ann McGregor, candidate for City Council, Kathleen Rifkin, candidate for City Council, Damian Young, candidate for City Council. All candidates were invited to participate in the forum tonight. Shannon Bruce was invited and has declined participation. Ann McGregor was invited by email, phone, and a certified letter was sent to her on September 5th. Ms. McGregor did not respond. As stated in our candidate participation policy, we will proceed with all other candidates. We'll begin with Lisa Whalen, candidate for mayor. Don't forget to unmute yourself, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. This is a fantastic opportunity for our residents to hear from the candidates firsthand. My husband and I have lived in Minnetrista for 35 years. We raised our 2 children here, and I operated my business here for 25 years. During this time, I've been given the opportunity to contribute and give back to my community. I've had the privilege to serve on the Minnetrista City Council previously for 12 years, and now for the past 6 years as your mayor. Our city, our state, and the entire world is facing an unprecedented time of upheaval and change. What our town deserves more than anything else in these trying times are people who care about our city and who care about its residents. Minnetrista needs leaders who are experienced enough to navigate this new terrain and these new challenges. My combined 18 years of service in public office, as well as the chair for numerous commissions, committees, and nonprofits, are all a testament to my leadership, ability, and knowledge. I'm proud to say that I received the 2017 Women in City Government Leadership Award. In collaboration with council members, planning and park commissioners, staff, and residents, we've accomplished a great deal over the past 6 years. However, we need to continue to address issues such as public safety, road improvements, managing growth, managing and maintaining rural areas, and improving water and sewer infrastructure. Since I'm retired, I'm able to devote as much time as needed to the mayoral position. Minnetrista deserves the right, qualified person at the helm. I have the knowledge, experience, and leadership that is needed. There is a clear choice, so I ask for your vote so we can continue working together to make Minnetrista even better than it is today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kathleen Rifkin for City Council. Kathleen, we're not hearing you. Nope. Kathleen, you can try to call in on your phone. Do you have that number?
You can go right now then?
Yes, I can hear you. Awesome. There you
Oh,
go.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, we'll start again. Sorry about that.
Let me introduce you again. Kathleen Rifkin, City Council.
Thank you very much, League of Women Voters, for organizing this forum and allowing all of the candidates the opportunity to address the residents of Minnetrista. I am Kathleen Rifkin, and I'm married to my wonderful husband, Christopher. We have 3 lovely children, and for the past 5 years, we've called Minnetrista home. It is a decision we couldn't be happier with. The reason that I decided to enter the political arena and run for city council is because I want to be sure everyone in Minnetrista continues to have a beautiful place to live and work and raise their families. While I truly believe this is an amazing city with a remarkable sense of community and terrific civil services, there are areas in which improvements can be made. I will work diligently to ensure that all we love about our city is preserved, while areas where changes are necessary are not ignored. Thank you.
Thank you. Damien Young for City Council.
Hello, Minnetrista residents. My name is Damien Young, and I'm running for City of Minnetrista Council. I'd like to thank the city and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. The reason I'm running for City Council is because I love my community. I feel I bring leadership and business experience to the council. I have been living in Minnetrista for the last 6 years with my wife and 2 kids in Palmer Point. Where I've served on the HOA board and participated in numerous community events. I've also served for 3 years on the City of Minnetrista Planning Commission. It's been a pleasure, and I really enjoy serving the city. I've continued to provide support to the city and the residents through my service as an election judge, as well as a head judge since 2016. A little sad that I can't participate, but I felt that running was important. So I'm rooting for all the brave residents that are supporting us through the election. I've proudly served in the U.S. Marine Corps, and I'm a Marine veteran. I also own a small business, a successful technology firm that specializes in networking and security for government in Minneapolis. I've had that business since 2013. I believe that my experience in technology and government contracting will serve the city well. I believe that transportation and technology is a issue for many residents here in Minnetrista. They face basically unreliable public transportation for elderly and and special needs neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll have a chance to touch on all the issues that are important to each of you throughout the forum. All right, so we're getting ready to go to our first question, and you'll be answering in a rotating order. You'll each have 1 minute to answer the question. The first question, we're going to start with Kathleen Refkin. And the question is, what do you think are the top 3 priorities facing our city in particular, and how do you plan to address these?
Can you hear me? Okay. All right. The most pressing issues facing Minnetrista are taxes and infrastructure, in my opinion. And then the third, I only prepared 2, but the third one would definitely be ability to get internet service to everybody. As our city continues to grow, it is imperative that the city council embraces the growth and manages it to what residents want. As a city councilwoman, I would make sure taxes align with growth, that we have the financial transparency our residents deserve, and resourceful infrastructure investment. With regard to technology, I feel we need to meet with vendors and find out what we need to do to get better internet to everyone in the community, especially given the COVID crisis where everyone is working remotely. Thank you.
Thank you. Damien Young?
So I believe that roads, internet, and taxes are the 3 top issues for Minnetrista and the residents. I feel that the road construction is a challenge for most residents, and the maintaining and managing the budget to stay ahead of the roads is a critical issue and a challenge for the council. I feel that it's been managed well in the past, and I want to support the council and continue balancing the budget so that way we can make sure that we have safe roads. I feel that internet is also a big issue in a lot of communities within Minnetrista. We also need to work with vendors and the state in getting fiber or finding some public support in getting better internet into the communities. I feel that there are a lot of
Thank you. And next, Lisa Whalen.
The biggest issue, I think, is the overall arching umbrella. I would call it planning for the future. We are a growing community, and with that growth, there comes some challenges. So we have infrastructure that's already been mentioned, roads particularly, but sewer and water as well. We need to address those. We also need to address public safety. We have an excellent fire service, both from Mound and St. Bonnie, and we have an excellent police department. But as we continue to grow, we need to look at the future because we need to be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to public safety. One of the things that I'm a proponent of is making sure that we look at all options regarding a fire district between Mound and St. Bonnie, and currently we're in the talks and in the process of doing that. I also feel we need to continue with our road infrastructure. We've improved many miles of roads over the past 6 years, and we need to continue that to continue our city as a beautiful city. The internet is also an issue, and we need to explore that collaboratively.
Thank you so much. All right. Next question, we are going to start first with Damien Young. And the question is, please describe a situation in which you successfully worked through a challenging situation with people with conflicting positions. Describe your general approach to others when there's a disagreement.
So I can describe a particular issue when I was doing a build out within my organization. We're expanding, and some of the expansions within our organization with conflicting thoughts with our operation officers, and everyone made really good points and had individual priorities. And the way that I dealt with it and the way that I typically deal with challenges is I listen first. I tend to sit back, write down what my colleagues are saying, and try to put myself in their shoes. And that's how I would govern, as being on the council, is really trying to put myself in my neighbor's shoes and think about how their perspective is. So we were able to find middle ground, and I was able to understand and share my view and
Thank you,
find
Damien.
a good middle place for that solution.
Thank you. And next is Kathleen Refkin.
A situation where I have dealt with differing opinions and how I addressed it. I spent 8 years handling workers' compensation claims, so I am used to dealing with several parties conflicting and wanting different outcomes, workers wanting to get back to work, employers wanting them to get back to work, doctors wanting treatment that needed to be approved, lawyers who want to settle claims, etc. The best way I found to handle those claims is to listen to all parties involved, talk to other people, and find out what is the best situation for that employee or for the employer, get someone else to help them, and really just listen to everyone and work together to get the best solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Whalen.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say pretty much every meeting you have to listen and you have to come to some conclusion. There's always differing opinions. So first of all, listening respectfully, allowing everybody on the council to state their opinion, and if you need and get clarification on why they have the position that they hold, and allow all parties to voice their opinions as often as need be. Sometimes it also means compromising, and in order to come to a resolution. But it's always good to have differing opinions, because most of the time you end up with a better result and a better outcome.
Thank you. The next question, Lisa Whalen, you're going to be first. What steps will you take towards advancing racial equity within the city government and the community?
Well, as you know, Minnetrista is primarily upper class white Caucasian community. So I think we have a lot of work to do in that respect. When we hire people, we try and be as diverse as possible, but also some just educational pieces would be helpful. The other thing is, I've spoken with our police department and made sure that they have and are taking, which they have been for a number of years, but that they take as many what's called racial bias or implicit bias training. I think that would also help. Again, just more education and trying to also communicate with our residents about what it actually means to be to try and bridge those divides and those bridges.
Thank you. Second is Damien Young. As a reminder, please mute yourself when you're no longer speaking.
Thank you. Racial equity, I think, starts with myself, me being a man of color. I think that what I've done in the last 6 years as a resident, and participating in volunteer opportunities to be an election judge or being on the planning commission, and integrating myself with the city government, taking that first step has been two-sided element. I think that, of course, the city can do things, but I think it's encouraging other residents of color, women, anyone disabled to participate in government and show that they're part of the community. I think they love the community just as much as anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin.
I believe the best way for us to promote diversity in our community is to keep the property taxes as low as possible, which will result in houses in general remaining affordable and allowing future residents, regardless of minority status, to afford houses in our great city, with regard to allowing them to be Also, with regard to them being on city council or as a mayor in the future or any of the city administrative positions, we just need to hire the best qualified candidates and making sure that everyone in the community feels that they are able to apply for the positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, Kathleen Refkin, you'll be first. What does governing with transparency mean to you, and how would you reflect that if elected?
Governing with transparency means to me that anyone who wants to talk to someone on city council, whether it's a council member or the mayor, is able to do so without questions. They can reach out to you via email and you'll respond and get to them. If they have questions about where taxes are at, why they're going up, or if they can go down, you respond. You don't give them long-winded answers and avoid the topic. You get right to the point. And I think that's the best thing that we can do, especially if I'm elected on city council. There needs to be easier ways for the residents of Minnetrista to get answers for their concerns about why things are being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Whalen?
So transparency was a big issue when I first took office 6 years ago, and we have been working diligently on that issue. One of the things we do is when we were meeting in person, we videotaped all of our meetings and they were then aired on YouTube. We also always invite the public to participate and to be in person at the meetings. That has changed slightly in the past few years. We've done a lot of things. We've improved our website. We've improved our newsletter. We've created a Facebook page, Twitter account. We do email blasts. I do a state of the city address. We do an annual city bus tour. We've improved our Trista's Day where there are elected officials present for people to talk to. And also I participate in the National Night Out every year, again, meeting with residents. And I've always made it clear that I'm open to any resident that wishes to talk to me or to email me. And I always get back to people as soon as possible. So that's my answer.
Thank you. Damien Young?
Thank you. I've seen really improved transparency in our city government. I think that we can continue improving our city government by improving communication through our HOA organizations, disseminating the information, what's going on in the meetings and how that is going to affect and affect the community residents. I believe that we can reach out to maybe some of the school districts and the schools and do events with them and basically try to improve our social media presence. I think we could, post and share some of the specific social media topics that are on there so we can stay ahead of that. Thank you.
Thank you. For our next question, Damien Young, you'll be first. All of you, I believe, spoke about infrastructure in your top priorities, the top priorities answer. And so this next question is about infrastructure. Good city infrastructure is important to keeping Minnetrista a great place to live. What are your priorities to managing infrastructure and what are your plans on financing these?
I think the biggest expense for the city is maintaining good roads and clean roads. I think that we will continue to, and I'll continue supporting working with the vendors, trying to negotiate the best contracts that we can. I think that we will continue to embrace opportunities where we can bring community cleaning efforts up and just try to encourage safe and good habits for residents to utilize the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin?
I agree with Damon that the roads are definitely one of the top issues with infrastructure. Along with him, we definitely need to continue to work with vendors, send the jobs out to bid, and make sure we are getting the best quality vendor we can with regard to financing. That obviously comes from taxes. We need to work within the budget we have instead of increasing the budget on those. Another level of infrastructure that needs to be addressed is the internet, and that we definitely need to do a lot more work and meet with vendors and find out how we can get more options for internet, especially in our neighborhood. You know, there's only 2 here and nobody's really happy. I lucked out, I have fiber, but I know most people in town don't. So we need to make sure we find a way to get that done in the next 4 years, preferably by the end of this year, given COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lisa Whalen.
Sorry. So the council has been prioritizing and making road infrastructure one of our priorities besides water infrastructure and sewer. Obviously, you're aware that we've been working very diligently on water and sewer. Water infrastructure, of course, is paid for by water user fees as well as area and connection charges. And then we've also floated some bonds in order to pay for some of the large ticket items. Road infrastructure is primarily, we share that cost. There's a levy, we have a road levy on an annual basis. And then when we do a project that's either a reclamation or a reconstruction project, there's a 50-50% share. So there's 50% assessed usually, and then the city picks up the remaining costs. Currently, we've been adding a little bit amount every year to our road levy, our road budget, because we have a huge need. We started out with very little money when I came on board, and so we did have to add, and we continue to add about 100 to 125,000 every year, and we're still behind the 8 ball, so we still need to do that. Thank you.
Our next question, Lisa Whalen, you'll be first. How will you balance the need to keep the tax levy low with funding demands needed to maintain or improve the quality of life for Minnetrista citizens?
Well, when you're talking about budgets, it's always easy to say we're not going to raise the budget or we're going to cut the budget. But the question here is you have to look at the pros and cons of that. You have to say, okay, if we cut the budget or we don't raise the budget, then what are we sacrificing? There are a number of different tools that we have in the toolbox. For instance, what we've done is we take a look at our growth and we say, okay, and this is a good example, this year we had a 3.5% new home growth value added to our city. So if we raise the levy by 3.5%, it's basically a net zero increase. In fact, this year it'll be a decrease from the average resident. The other tool that we have in the toolbox is our fund balance. Our fund balance policy states that we should have or maintain between 35 and 50% fund balance. If it goes over that, we have been using that to offset any levy increases. And the other thing we can do is we can float equipment certificates for those large ticket items, especially with interest rates so low right now. That is really a good opportunity to do large ticket purchases, which then spreads it out over 5 years. Thank you.
Second is Damian Young.
Like I do in my business, I would prioritize, the issues that are top of mind. The other thing I would do, I think, is explore grant opportunities through the federal government, especially when it comes to internet expansion and improving our internets. I think there are lots of grant funding available out there. I would also try to work with the state, the county, and the Met Council to improve our infrastructure needs. I think that that's something that would help lower or maintain our current tax base and rate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kathleen Rifkin.
Kind of echoing what both Mayor Whalen and Damian said, we need to look at the budget and balance and see where we have extra money in the budget that we're not using for things that we can reallocate to more important things. How much of the current budget is set for things like trees in parks, and can we use that money for something else? Are we fully utilizing all the new money that's coming in from all the homes, or are we not looking at it every year and allocating the money later on instead of taking that money in right away now and allocating it to the budget? There's always a give and take, and we need to find exactly where we can cut things to fix other projects. And like Damian said, I know there's grants out there for projects, and we just need to make sure that we are contacting everyone we can to get them. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin, you'll be first with the next question. And it seems that the high-speed internet service has been a recurring theme, so let's ask a question about that. High-speed internet service adds great quality to citizens' lives. Is this a priority for you? It sounds like it is for almost for all of you. And if so, what are your plans to achieve high-speed internet broadband service for Minnetrista?
Getting high-speed internet for everyone in Minnetrista is definitely one of my top priorities. And what I will do is find out what available grants there are, if we are even able to get any grants. I know with the density of the population, how many people have it already versus the rural areas, there are issues with grants we could get. And then also meet with vendors and find out what they need from us to be able to put in the infrastructure, the towers, the cables, whether or not it's fees that the city charges that are too much, if they just don't have they aren't seeing the customer base, if we need to get more residents to be vocal about it, whatever the vendors need so that we can get more options would be what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Lisa Whalen.
Well, this is more than a 1-minute answer, but so one of the things I did recently is I looked at what it would cost to put cable in all of our roads that currently don't have it. We have approximately 50 miles of roads that need cable in order to facilitate better, more reliable and faster internet to all of our residents. At a $50,000 to $100,000 per mile, we're looking at anywhere from 2.5 million all the way up to 2.5 all the way up to $5 million. That's a big ticket item. I agree, we need to search venues, and we need to talk to our legislators, both at the county level as well as at the state level, in order to help us out with this, because there is no way that we could afford to do this on our own. We will be talking with Mediacom, who we currently have a contract with, but that contract doesn't expire until 2024. So that'll be an issue as well, but we will be working on this. In fact, at our next council meeting, we will be talking about this exact issue.
Thank you. Damian Young.
As a small business owner that owns a technology firm, I deal with IT and networks extensively. I feel that I think we need to look towards the future and embrace smart city technology like 5G that could bring faster internet and other resources to our communities. Unfortunately, we're not like Minneapolis, and we're not highly dense, and it's, we're not going to have the resources. So I think if we embrace smart city technology and find grants that are geared towards that, maybe we can push and get towers for 5G or get other infrastructure that support that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Damian Young, you'll be first with our next question. What role should the city play in combating COVID-19 in Minnetrista?
Thank you. COVID-19 is obviously a very difficult and tragic event for all of us. It's affected me. It's affected my employees. I've had employees that have had to take time off because they've had loved ones die, and it's tragic. And I think that the city can encourage social distancing, encourage wearing masks. I think we can also invest in infrastructure like the internet, so we can have reliable school and work from home opportunities for as many residents as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Number two, Kathleen Refkin.
With regard to COVID-19, the city role, especially with our size city, is more, as Damon said, making sure that we practice social distancing, and then making sure that everyone in the city has the PPE they need, whether it's the policemen, the city administrators, the employees, especially with the schools, making sure that the school district has the PPE they need if they need stuff. I know the city got money that they currently haven't allocated, so pending what types of requests we get in, the city can definitely assist with some additional costs that businesses or residents have had with regard to that. But the biggest thing is just making sure that everyone practices safe social distancing, and canceling events like we did this year with National Night Out and Trista Day definitely helped with stopping the spread. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Whalen?
So obviously, encouraging residents to do the social distancing and where appropriate, to wear masks. As you know, you're supposed to wear masks in public places. So, and then through education on our website, we could be posting more. We have followed all of the guidelines and recommendations by the state. Our employees wear masks at work. We're following all of those guidelines. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of businesses such as restaurants and bars. In this case, it's fortunate. Otherwise, it's not so fortunate. But we don't have a downtown area. So there's Minnetrista is somewhat different than many communities. Again, just through education and also playing a role in kind of when you go out in public, making sure that you yourself are a role model as well.
Thank you. The next question, we're going to start first with Lisa Whalen. Recently, the City Council voted to lift the citywide emergency order counter to the city staff's recommendation during the city's public safety, including the city's public safety director and the city attorney. Do you support this decision? Why or why not?
Yes, I voted for it. One of the reasons the emergency order was put in place back in March was we were at that time we didn't know for sure whether the city would be eligible for FEMA dollars. And usually what happens is when you have an emergency order in place and FEMA dollars would become available if you have an emergency order in place. So that was one of the reasons we thought, well, let's put the order in place. The other reason our emergency management director, Paul Falls, wanted the order in place was in case of an emergency where he could be making decisions for extra policing hours or for extra money that would need to be allocated towards that towards the COVID-19 emergency, be it extra hours for our police department or sanitizing squad cars or police station if it had been needed, those kind of things. We found out that we don't need that at this time, and so we decided to remove it. We can always add it if need be at a later date.
Thank you. Second, Damian Young.
So I would have supported the measure. I felt that we need to look at a community contagion spread and how severe it was, and really measure the risk for city staff. But I do think because we are limited for services here in Minnetrista, being that we're in a rural community, it's important that we have city government working for us, and that there are many residents that need the services, and it's critical. So I feel that putting in PPE rules and guidelines in place and try to practice wearing masks and shields is the right move. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin.
Yes, I support lifting the emergency orders, given the size of Minnetrista, how rural most of it is, that there's limited businesses. I completely agree that at this point it was a good time to suspend it. As Lisa stated, if something happens, we can always reinstate it. But at this point, given the numbers and how everything is going with the masks, it seemed like a good time to stop the order. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin, you will be first with this next question. What can the city do to add a long-term solution to heavy storm runoff that is washing out roadsides and flooding low areas, potentially contaminating Minnehaha Creek watershed?
I think regard to that, it definitely comes into our infrastructure on the roads and making sure that we have the necessary curbs and culverts, and making sure our storm drains are clear so the water runoff can go where it needs to go, making sure that the elevations in the new subdivisions are set up so the water flows where it needs to go versus flowing into the lakes, into the creeks, into all the ponds and everything. I know in our subdivision, we've got the stormwater drains and everything set up. In the rural areas, it might just come down to adjusting how the roads are set up, especially as we continue paving them, making sure the curbs are there and the drains are there so the water goes where it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Whalen?
Sorry. Okay, so stormwater ponds are a big component of it. We want to make sure that the stormwater ponds are maintained so that they can capture the runoff, and then the nutrient settles out in the stormwater ponds. We also do street sweeping twice a year to also eliminate things running off into our waters. The other thing is we want to maintain our wetlands and also encourage people to restore wetlands. So for instance, the Mader family had a wetland area that they restored and put into a wetland bank, and it was a win-win situation for both the city as well as the family as well as the watershed. So maintaining our wetlands, restoring wetlands, and also maintaining our stormwater ponds is a critical part of that equation.
Thank you. Damien Young?
Thank you. I agree with both candidates, Kathleen and Lisa. I think stormwater maintenance is critical. I think that wetlands as well, and improving them, encouraging us to improvement. This is a real issue for me. Our community lives on Lake Minnetonka, and we have one of the largest lagoons, and this is an issue that's really affecting us as a community. We struggle to find solutions, and we hope that we can work with other nonprofit resources to find improvements. So I'll continue to try to set up ways for the city to communicate to HOAs and community owners and improve the lakes and wetlands. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Damien Young, you'll be first. Excuse me. The city of Minnetrista continues to grow. This growth, including additional housing, development, impacts infrastructure, schools, and traffic. If you're elected, how will you balance growth with the importance of keeping Minnetrista a great place to live and protect green space?
Thank you. Growth in Minnetrista has been growing. I think we're about 75 to 100 new homes every year. And being on the Planning Commission, I've seen that front and center. I think that creating opportunities for smart housing, not just looking at traffic, really leaning on the Planning Commission and working with future builders, developers to make sure that what they're proposing is the right choice. I think the city's done a great job in their planning. I was able to help review that on the Planning Commission. I think that the vision the city has is in balance with what the residents are expecting. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin.
Can you repeat the question again?
Sure. The city of Minnetrista continues to grow. This growth, including additional housing and development, impacts infrastructure, schools, and traffic. If you were elected, how would you balance growth with the importance of keeping Minnetrista a great place to live and protecting green spaces?
I think the city right now has a great plan in place. I know in our subdivision, we have 3 parks in Woodland Cove here, and the city required them, and you have so much green space that you have to have per development, which is wonderful. I think the big thing is for the city as it continues to grow and build subdivisions, we maintain the requirement that we have so much open space, that you have so much access to the water, that you only have so many docks per space. With regard to the schools, it's definitely something we're going to need to look at as all of these new families come in, and whether or not we need to add another school, add another elementary school, or another middle school, even as, they're just growing at a substantial rate. I know there's, 4 second grade classrooms right now at Shirley Hills where my kids are. So we just need to make sure that as the city grows, we discuss and look forward and make sure that we plan for the continued growth with the schools and the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Whalen?
So the city recently adopted our brand new 2040 comprehensive plan. And in that plan, we got a lot of input from residents. And as you know, they said they love the beauty and the open space. So I agree, we need to continue any developments that we have come in. It's important that we try and create parks and more trails, that we improve the ones that we currently have. But the other big thing was that we did not expand beyond our current urban service area with our new plan. So the rural areas of Minnetrista will remain rural for many years to come. And I think that's good news for all of Minnetrista. And we have, what we did is we used some certain growth strategies, if you will, in order to accommodate the metropolitan's demand for housing. As you know, we have a housing unit per requirement. And with that, we were able to meet that demand with certain growth strategies. And I think we'll still have many, many acres, many square miles of open, beautiful open space. Thank you.
The next question is, if you were to paint a picture of a future Minnetrista in 10 to 20 years from now, what would it look like? And Lisa Whalen.
Thank you. I think 10 years from now, Minnetrista is going to look quite similar to what it currently does. Woodland Cove, one of our largest developments, will be completely built out. But again, like I said, with our new comprehensive plan, we're not planning on expanding our urban area much further than what it is. There's a area along 92 over by Hunter's Crest that's in the urban area now, or has been for quite some time. There'll be some development there. But overall, I think you're going to see that it's going to remain very similar to what it looks like today.
Thank you. Damian Young?
Thank you. 20 years from now, Minnetrista will have great internet. Kids can do work from home, school from home. Families can, get on the internet, no problem. I think that's a huge benefit, down in the future for us to make sure that we resolve. I also think that we'll have great public transportation for people, elderly and people with special needs. I think we'll be able to resolve that, and also we'll have great roads. So that's what a future Minnetrista looks like to me.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin?
I definitely agree with Damian's plan for amazing internet, hopefully way before 20 years from now. But I think how Minnetrista looks now is almost perfect, and I wouldn't want to change it that much. I would definitely want to add some more businesses so that every resident doesn't have to travel, miles to get groceries or coffee or, banking, or just we need to add some more businesses, and we definitely want to make sure that our schools continue to get better sporting complexes, better activities, more facilities for families to use with their kids and that. But otherwise, Minnetrista will look very similar with the parks and the trails and great roads and wonderful internet.
Thank you. This is going to be our final question before the closing statements. And we're going to start first with Kathleen Refkin. And the question is there an issue that wasn't discussed in this forum that you'd like to address?
Honestly, I don't really think so. I think we covered a lot. I really don't have any other comments that I haven't made, other than just, I want to make sure that we answer all the questions as residents have for us. Thanks.
Totally understand. That's a question we throw in just in case there's something that we missed that's important for someone. So thank you. Second is Lisa Whalen.
Thank you. I think just one thing I'd like to touch on is collaboration. We live in a world where we are not in a bubble, and our world has expanded greatly, and hopefully, as the other two candidates have mentioned, we'll have better internet sooner than 20 years, and we will have better roads. So collaboration is going to be even more important because there's other outside agencies that we have to deal with on a daily and weekly basis. And in order to get things accomplished, we need to have a good rapport and a good rapport with them, and we need to be able to work with them well. So that's just the other issue that I think that I needed to mention.
Thank you. Damian Young?
Thank you. I'll expand on what Lisa said. I think that we would need to, we probably want to address working with our neighboring cities. I think we've got a lot of the same issues. I think that with the overlapping school districts and the internet, if we really look at it from a regional standpoint, because I think we have our own individual issues like the internet, like transportation, like roads, and if we work together as a community with neighboring cities, we can, solve those and make this a really, continue making this a really great place for us to live. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now call on you for your closing statements, and we are going to start with Damian Young. You have 2 minutes.
Again, my name is Damian Young. I'm running for City Council. I love my community. I love my city. I will always continue volunteering, participating any way I can to make it better, and to serve my neighbors. I am proud to be here in Minnetrista. My kids love Minnetrista. And I just ask Minnetrista residents for their support and their vote for my running on city council. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the city for hosting this. And I really appreciate this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Refkin.
I'd just like to thank the League of Women Voters again for hosting this event. In closing, I just want to say how proud I am to live in the great city of Minnetrista. If the residents of the city see fit to elect me to the City Council, I will serve my term with pride and do my best to represent its residents. I love the beauty and charm of Minnetrista, its parks, trails, and of course, Lake Minnetonka. As a City Councilwoman, I will work to ensure that this charm remains while embracing the necessary and important growth that is occurring. I will be a representative for everyone in Minnetrista and listen to your ideas and concerns. I would greatly appreciate your vote this November because together I truly believe we can accomplish great things. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you. Lisa Whalen.
So we've covered many issues and topics this evening, and I'd like to ask every voter to take a minute to think about all that's been said here tonight. Consider your own well-being and quality of life. In the past 6 years, do you feel your lives have improved? Do you benefit from clean water and paved roads? Is transparency in your government something you value? Are open lines of communication and citizen involvement important to you? Not only do I live in this city, but I know this city, and I helped this city become what it is today. And I genuinely wish to continue making this even better. Minnetrista deserves leadership who cares about Minnetrista and not their own agendas. Not only do I have the time available to dedicate to Minnetrista and the office of mayor, but I have the experience and knowledge required to do it right. With the world's current chaos amidst this very critical period, right now is not the time to experiment with untested, inexperienced leaders. After everything that's been accomplished during my 6 years as mayor, it seems Minnetrista has a very clear choice. I've worked tirelessly to stand for the positivity Minnetrista deserves. And our community is a beautiful place to live, and we deserve representatives who work to better our community while staying nonpartisan, upbeat, and cooperative. I don't want to make this election about theatrics or negativity. I want to make it about hope and positive changes. Hope for a brighter future and changes that will make our city even better than it is today. Let's pull together, get through this year, and enter the next 4 years strong and united. Minnetrista has a clear choice here, so I ask for your vote. I believe we can make Minnetrista even better than it is today. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the Minnetrista Mayor and City Council Candidate Forum. Thank you to the candidates for loving their communities enough to run. Thanks to the League of Women Voters volunteers and for those viewing this event and for all your participation in this candidate forum. Thank you to the City of Minnetrista for supporting this event. On-demand viewing can be accessed at www.lwvwpa.org, as well as the League of Women Voters Wayzata Plymouth Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Please remember to vote in the November 3rd general election by absentee ballot or in person. Your vote is your voice. LWV welcomes new members, both women and men, at www.lwvwpa.org. Thank you and good night.